So, hi, good day. Andito na tayo sa last klase natin ng ating Socio 111 or General Sociology. Here comes module in week 13. And our topic is population, urbanization, and the environment. Okay, so kaano ba ka-importante na pag-aralan natin yung environment natin? Of course, urbanization and population and the like. No, kasi nga, hindi lang sa pag-aaral natin yung mga tao sa paligid natin, of course, pag-aaralan natin yung paligid natin kasi nandito yung mga tao na nakikipaghalubilo sa atin. So, here's our objectives: demography and population, urbanization, and of course, the environment and the society. So, intro muna tayo. So, there is this place called Centralia in Pennsylvania. So, yung nangyari kasi dito sa place na to, hindi na siya tinirahan ng mga tao kasi there was this, na-abandon na siya kasi nga, nagkameron ng parang gas-related incident doon and something in pool na yung lugar na yon may place doon na hindi, yung may apoy, hindi na natatanggal yung apoy. So, delikado na sa mga tao doon. Oftentimes, kinagkokos siya ng mga forest fire. And immediately then, pinabandon na yun ng government sa kanila yung taong yun. So, this warning sign advises people of the environmental danger of Centralia. So, many of us have seen 2000 movies, even movie then about legal assistance to spearhead yun sa, example sa California. May mga pangyayari din actually na sa California na example dito is a cancer cluster or a geographic area with proportionately high cancer rates. For example, Erin Brockovich caused toxins leak in the ground. So, may nakikita siguro tayong video, di ba, na ina-abandon nyo ng lugar na yon because nagkameron ng environmental disaster. Tawag na accordingly dyan is kind of like cancer cluster. Yung nangyari sa isang lugar na subject na for abandonment kasi nga delikado na yung environment na yun sa tao. Indeed, it is typical na pag-usapan natin ito ngayon sa sociology kasi nga para malaman natin at ma-understand natin kasi meron talagang mga lugar na nag-exist na mga ganito, mga delikado ng lugar. Okay? So, ito yung story na to dito, ang daming story na ganito. Sociologists begin to examine these issues through demography or the study population, yun yung demography, and how it relates to urbanization. The study or urbanization means social, political, or socio-political economic relationship in cities. Environmental sociologists took at study of humans and how humans interact to the environments. So, sila yung mga environmental sociologists. So, today, as has been in many cases, may mga history na conflict sa mga environment, sa mga tao. The world's population has increased. Billions na tayo. And when it will reach 8 billion, and can our planet sustain such population? We generate more than trash than ever. Example, yung mga basura natin sa landfill, ini-incinerate natin, sinusunog. Example, from Starbucks cups. Okay, obsolete cellphones. Yung mga cellphones, naisip mo ba kung saan yung cellphones natin ngayon na lumang-luma dati pa lang? So, hindi yan sila basta natutunaw. Hindi yan sila basta sinusunog din. Tinatambak yan somewhere. If you are familiar, guys, yung kabago pa lang na Olympics, yung ginamit doon, combination sa medals nila, ginto, tsaka trash cellphones, ginamit ng Japan. Yung sa Tokyo Olympics ngayon currently lang. So, yun yung mixtures ng, kasi kailangan i-recycle eh. So, we appreciate Japan sa ginawa nila doon. So, sabi dito, where it's still all going, chances are that we are likely aware of the trust and hindi natin alam kung paano mag-iento. And while this problem exists worldwide, trust issues are often more acute in urban areas. Cities and city living create new challenge for both society and the environment. Now, these kinds of interaction between people and places are critical importance. So, indeed, important siya. Familiar kayo doon sa health and medicine na tinatopic. And oftentimes doon may mga health issues tayo na yung oftentimes nagdudulot nito is pollution sa environment natin. Meron din yung topic na pollution, something and the like. No, indeed, we have to know not just to interact with other people in a place, but to know the place where we interact with other people also. Now, in asking this question, how do sociologists study these issues? Paano nila to? So, meron tayong, of course, di ba, functionalist sociologist. No? So, might focus on the way that all aspects of population, urbanization, or even environment serves as vital. Meaning, no, lahat ng aspects na ng population, environment, importante siya at they work no, in a way na magiging cohesive yung element ensuring no, na mapapabuti yung society. So, ang nakikita naman dito ng conflict theorists, they are interested in the creation and reproduction of inequality. No, might aso ay, example, makita nila na inaabuso na tayo ng other nation, na yung basura natin pinatapon dito, mga ganon, kasi marami ng population sa kanila, nagmamigrate na dito, so mga ganon ng mga inequality nakikita. And of course, symbolic interactionists are interested on day-to-day interaction of groups of people that might create a system or even a symbol. So, ano yung representation niyan sa interaction natin day-to-day. Now, let's talk about what is demography and population. Ano yung kaibahan nila? Okay, so, kasi oftentimes kasi, before ako, medyo naguluhan ako dyan na term. So, Earth's population, which is recently grow 7 billion, is always on the move. So, sabi dito, yung demography, it is the study of populations. Iba yung population, iba din yung demography, okay? But there are three most important components affecting the issues above. Example, fertility. Paano ba lumalaki yung population? Of course, fertility rate, mortality rate, and migration. And accordingly pa sa fertility rate, a society is measured noting number of children born, yung pagsilang ng bata, fertile kumbaga. Sa mortality rate naman, yung number ng namamatay ng mga tao. Kasi, kailangan yan, di ba, sa population, disease na ba siya, namatay, nagbawas ang population, fertility rate, tumaas na naman, nagbawas, ganito, ganyan. Yan lang yun, ng mga factors mostly, ang factors na nakaka-indicate sa population natin. Okay, so, population growth. Okay, changing fertility, mortality, and migration rates make up the total population composition. So, itong mga changes. Of course, kasali din dito pala yung migration. Example, nag-migrate sa ibang country to other country. Of course, sa census dito, yung counted lang talaga, yung nandito lang. In yung migration, nakaka-apekto siya. May migrate itong mga foreigner, may mga nawawala din. Okay, so, kinakount din siya. No, make up total population composition. A snapshot of demographic profile of population, this number can measure for societies, nations, and of course for region and the group. The population composition includes sex ratio. So, kinakount dyan yung number ng men for every 100 women and kabaliktaran din number of women for every man. As well as population pyramid. Diba? Sometimes sa mga population, kinakategorize talaga dyan kung saan yung babae yung lalaki. So, tawag dyan sex ratio. At meron din tayong population pyramid. It is in connection of population distribution by sex and gender. So, example ito, meron tayo dito. Example ito. Ito, mga edad to. This is counted as million itong sa baba. Example, 3 million, 6 million up to 15 million. Ito yung example ito, female and male. So, ito yung numbers, 0 pa infant hanggang mga pagkabata. Karamihan sa mga numbers, umabot na almost 12 million sa mga edad na 20, 25 to 30. Marami din, of course, dito sa mga edad, around 45 to 50. And kakaunti lang sa 90 na to 100 yung population based on sex ratio. Okay? So, this shows us population pyramid. So, meron din tayong demographic theorists. Sociologists have looked at population issues as central to understanding human interaction. So, dito, makikita natin dito ano yung mga in connection sa demography, ang human interaction din. First dito is the Malthusian theory. Sabi nga ni Thomas Malthus during 1766 to 1834, he is an English clergyman who made direct. Sabi nga dito, there are 3 factors no would control human population. May mga factors na nag-control sa human population depende sa galaw. Exceeds that Earth's carrying capacity or how many people can live in a given area considering the amount of available resources. Sabi dito, he identified these factors as war, paggera daw, famine, and disease. So yung nangyayari daw dito, he termed these positive checks because they increase mortality rate. So yung pag na-increase yung mortality rate, positive check siya. So sa population kasi nakakabuti kasi nababawasan. No? Thus keeping the population in check, so to speak. These are countered by preventative check, which also seeks to control population by reducing fertility rates. So yan yung pag reduce yung fertility rates, meaning it is preventative checks. Sabi niya dito, ng theory na to, open times daw, darating yung panahon talaga, eventually he thought people would run out of food. So yung tao, mawawalan doon ng pagkain, pagdadami na daw yung population. Mawawalan ng pagkain, tsaka magugutom. Okay, so war, famine, and disease, ito yung pattern, no? War, pag wala ng food, magugutom, it will result to gera. Kasi nga, no, scarce resources po, mag-aagawan sa mga resources. And that thing would reduce the population to a manageable level. And of course, then, pag famine, resulta tayo yung famine na yan, result yan, maybe disease kasi nagugutom yung mga tao, walang sustansya. So, yan yung Malthusian theory. And other din naman, sabi nga dito ng zero population growth, sabi dito, yung researcher dito named Paul Ehrlich brought Malthus prediction. Sabi dito, hindi daw naman nagbabago yung population. Kasi nga, meron daw taong namamatay, okay? Meron din nagmamigrate, meron din nasisilang. So, may nasisilang na mga bata every second. And meron din namamatay every second. Meron pumupunta dito na tourist every second, meron din bumabalik. So, at some point daw, nakukontrol na yung population sa theory na to. Sabi pa ng theory na to, zero population growth. Kung may namatay man, baka may isisilang na bata ngayon. So, somewhat, baka maging balance. Okay, pero dumami pa rin. And of course, we have cornucopian theory. It scopes the idea of humans wiping themselves out. It asserts human ingenuity. So, sabi dito, ina-assert dito na sa cornucopian theory, pagdarami yung population, hindi naman siya nakakasama. Kasi nga, sabi pa nga dito, it asserts human ingenuity or katalinuhan ng ibang tao. Hindi daw totoo yun na pagdadami yung tao, no, liliit na yung supply ng food natin. Sabi pa nga dito, because of human ingenuity, no, sa katalinuhan ng human, naka-invento na tayo ng mga production, ang galing production ng food, experimentation, makakreate tayo ng food in just this simple liquid or medicine. So, oftentimes, hindi magkakameron daw ng scarce resources sa world natin kasi nga, matalino daw yung tao, dumadami yung tao, at some point din yung technology natin, human ingenuity, no, mataas yung nainayambag. And of course, then we have demographic transition theory, no, ni Cadwell and Cadwell 2006, suggests that future population growth will develop along predictable 4 stage. So, meron daw stages yung population growth. Depende in nations. So, stage 1. So, ito yung stage 1. Birth, death, and infant mortality rates are all high. So, siguro before to, no, yung birth, pataas yung pagsilang mga bata, ang daming nagkakaanak, ang daming namamatay ng mga bata sa pagsilang, while life expectancy is short. So, ito yung America before. No, pero nag-improve na sila ngayon. So, as countries began to industrialize, nag-improve yung country, they enter to this stage to na tinatawag ng demographic transition theory. So, sabi dito, where birth rates are higher while infant mortality and death rates drop. So, bumababa na po yung mortality rate. Meaning, medyo na-improve na, na-industrialize na, siguro, life, thoroughly industrialized, siguro may mga medicines na na-invento, technology, healthcare, medicines, and the like na nakababa sa mortality rate ng isang nation. So, birth rates decline, no, while life expectancy continues to increase. Kasi oftentimes yung technology kasi natin ngayon, meron din naman tumataas yung buhay because of medicine. So, death rates continue to decrease kasi nga marami ng medicine na, may mga gamot na. Mexico's population is at this stage. Dito na po na stage yung Mexico. Let's move on to the last phase, stage 4. Now, we see the post-industrialized era. Ngayon, birth and death rates are low, people are healthier and living longer, and society enters a phase of population stability. So, parang nag-stabilize yung, may mga ganitong country actually, overpopulation will decline. Sweden and United States are considered stage 4. May mga ganitong country na parang hindi gumagalaw yung population na same lang. May namamatay, may mga ganon, may nasisilang naman. Parang balance lang. Okay, so, current population trends. Okay, so ito yung population before pa to ng mga population. So, indication lang dito, projection population ng Africa. So, sa mga graph na to, it shows lang na tumataas talaga yung population, no, ng every nations. Okay, so let's talk about urbanization. So, urbanization pala is a study of social, no, not just social but political and economic relationship in cities. Kaya nga urban, di ba? Urban kasi it talks about this socio-political and economic relationship of city. So, taga saan ka? Urban ka ba? Yes, we are talking here about cities. No? And someone is specializing urban sociology, so mga urban sociologists, inistudihan nila yung study sa relationship dito. Ano yung galaw? No? In some ways, cities can be microcosm of universal human behavior, while in others, they provide unique environmental. So, oftentimes daw, medyo may similarities, and oftentimes, unique yung yields in their own brand of human behavior nangyari sa cities. So, the growth of cities, according to sociologist Gideon Joberg, there are 3 prerequisites for development of cities. So, first na dito na prerequisites na masasabi natin na develop yung isang city, good environment, okay, with fresh water and favorable climate, of course. Second is advanced technology. Kaya yung mga industrialized, which will produce food surplus to support non-farmers. And third, strong social organization to ensure social stability and economy. So, maybe marami dito mga groups na, organizations, and the like. And as this chart illustrates, the shift from rural to urban in the United States has been dramatic. So, ito yung yellow-green, blue-green rather, yan yung rural. And yung urban, ito medyo grayish. So, dumadating yung panahon hanggang until now na almost yung rural natatabunan na ng urban. So, yung nangyayari nga, there is this shift nga, yung mga kapalayan, yung mga rice field, ginagawa ng urban, no? Tinatayuan na ng mga building. So, nado-dominate na yung urban. So, and urbanization in the world, so, nag-rapid increase talaga during pa yan siya talaga industrialized era, no? And more ngayon nagkakameron ng factory workers, left farms, and iniiwan na yung farms, no, in exchange to urban. Meron din tinatawag dito na suburbs and exurbs. So, suburbs are the communities surrounding the cities. So, sila yung mga community, hindi pa sila talaga mga gaano ka-urbanized. Pero sila yung, ang tawag dyan, suburbs, no, if I read it mistakenly. So, sila yung mga community nasa paligid ng isang syudad. Okay, so, typically close enough for daily commuting but far enough away from for more space than living city affords. So, meron dito exurbs. So, exurbs outside sila, no, communities that outside the ring of suburbs and are typically populated by even wealthier family who want more space. Medyo malayo-layo sila. And together, itong suburbs na to, ang exurbs and metropolitan are all combined. Ito na yung tinatawag na metropolis. Okay, di ba may mga term tayo metropolis sa mga lugar? New York was the first American metropolis. Kasi nga, yung New York kasi combination siya. May mga cities surrounds it, and may mga cities that outside it, and nandun yung mga elite people. A huge urban corridor encompassing multiple cities and their surrounding suburbs. Yun yung example, isang New York. So actually ngayon marami na rin, Toronto. Okay, marami na rin lugar sa US, even the Philippines rather, na natatawag na natin metropolis. So oftentimes yung mga metropolis, sila yung mga capital cities ng isang country. Okay? So meron din white flight. So refers to migration of economically secure white people from racially mixed. So may mga tao talaga na mayaman sila, they migrate to other people para makamix sila sa mga kalahin nila dyan. Para makita na din sa mga issue ba, ay dyan na part, maranaw dyan, parang nag-unite sila dyan. And dito din mga Bisaya dito. White flight yung tawag dyan. May mga ganun. Urbanization of the world. So, as was case in America, other coronations experience a growth spurt during industrial era talaga. Mayroon tayong tinatawag dito na idea na the practice of gentrification. It refers to the members of middle and upper class in telling so. Sometimes, di ba, yung mga mayayaman, pupunta sila sa mga cities, bumibili sila doon ng mga abandonadong lugar. Nire-renovate nila yun para makatira sila dyan. And gentrification yung tawag dyan. Yung nagre-renovate yung mga mayaman, ini-improve nila yung lugar, binili nila ng mura. And gentrification din yung tawag doon sa mga tao din na galing sila ng city, hindi maka-afford, lumipat na ng rural. Gentrification yan, the practice of gentrification. Okay? And theoretical perspective tayo of urbanization. Meron tayong human ecology. In a functionalist field, the study that focuses on relationship between people and their built natural physical environment. So, human ecology, yung physical environment sa paligid natin. Meron din tinatawag na concentric zone model is perhaps the most famous example of human ecology. Now, this model views a city as series of concentric circular area. So, nag-expand siya. So, from example dito, from ganito, this building, this rotate, naging factory, nag-expand hanggang lumaki. Nag-expand siya from different zones. This illustration depicts concentric zones that make up a city. So, ito yung dati before, hanggang sa itong lahat na to, it composed na of city. Environment and society. The subfield of environmental sociology studies how humans interact with their environment. Now, this field is closely related to human ecology, which focuses on the relationship between people and their built and natural environment. So, nakikita natin dito. Too little land for grazing means starving cattle. Of course, we're talking about here population. Pollution rather. Pollution describes when contaminants are introduced into an environment. So, there are different types of pollution. Meron tayong tinatawag na water pollution, soil pollution, garbage. No? So soil, may soil erosion tayo. It is just, soil erosion is just a form of soil pollution, by the way. So, may mga basura na. So, garbage creation and control are major issues that most foreign industrial countries, there are the primary two means. So, yung means na paano natin sinisegregate yung basura, oftentimes landfill and incineration, meaning sinusunog natin. Yan talaga yung pinaka-main part. Yung iba nga, ginagawang recycle, the like. Meron tayong air pollution, toxic and radioactive waste. Sa China, may while nuclear energy promises safe, abundant power sources, increasingly, it is looked upon danger. So, may mga times ni ganyan, nagiging toxic yung energy natin. Nagkaroon ng radioactive na nakakasama sa katawan. Okay? So, oil then, oil on the Gulf shores, beaches cause great destruction, no? Killing marine, land, and animals, keeping local business. Nagkameron ng ganito this happened during, sana yung may paglulubog ng mga barko oftentimes, may ganito, nagli-leak, nasisira yung mga marine resources natin. And of course, climate change talaga refers to long-term shifts in the temperature due to human activity, in particular, release of greenhouse gases into the environment. So, isa dito sa mga advocate ng climate change is ito si actress Angelina Jolie. Meron din tayo tinatawag na environmental racism, refers to the way in which minority groups, neighborhoods, primarily people of color, members of low economic are burdened with disproportionate number of hazards. So, oftentimes, sila yung mga pinaka-biktima. Oftentimes, itong sila ng mga tao, may mga times na tinatambak lang sa kanila yung mga basura, no? Sa kanila palagi yung pollution kasi nga walang nagpa-fight sa kanila. Racism yung tawag dyan. And it is indeed environmental racism. Okay? Lastly, let's move to social movement and social change. So, we're going to tackle about collective behavior, social movements, and social change. So, in January 2021, No, nagkameron ng protesta sa Egypt, no, long time President Hosni Mubarak. Yung protest yun, nagkameron ng revolution in Tunisia, in turn, inspired demonstration. No? This way, protest movements travel across nation borders hanggang sa kumalat siya, parang wildfire. So, we're going to tackle about ano yung collective behavior. Okay, so, let's move, what is flash mob? Ano yung flash mobs? No, typical yan kasi. So, is this a good time had by all? Some flash mobs may function as political protests, no, politically motivated, like maybe rallies, while others are for fun. Pan sila ng unan dyan. This flash mob fight purpose was to entertain, no, hindi politically motivated. So, this is a flash mob or a large group of people who gather together in a spontaneous activity that lasts a limited amount of time before returning to their regular routines. Meron tayo ditong forms of collective behavior. So, flash mobs are example of collective behavior, though it is non-institutionalized activity in which several people voluntarily engage. So, yung meaning dito ng non-institutionalized, hindi siya, no, inutos by law or by policy. Depende lang, parang nag-volunteer lang yung mga tao doon, they are not commanded something, it is non-institutionalized. Unless it is institutionalized, meaning nag-collect yung tao dyan, example, eskwelahan, no? Or dyan, nag-meeting sila dyan, ganon, institutionalized na siya. So, it takes a very large number of people in close proximity to form a crowd. So, masasabi natin talaga kung crowd yung isang tao, so, anong kaibahan ng mob at saka, anong kaibahan ng flash mob or crowd? Oftentimes, yung crowd, they are institutionalized, meaning, people out there, pumunta sila, marami. Yung mob kasi, limited na tao lang. Yung crowd, madaming tao. It takes large number of people. Examples include group of attending in any concert. May mga concert talaga. Meaning, although they are voluntarily came there, pero may purpose sila doon. No? And patriots in game worship service kasi yun yung mga crowd talaga madami. Also, Turner and Killian identified 4 types of crowds. So, meron tayo ditong casual crowds. It consists of people who are in the same place at the same time, okay, but who aren't really interacting. Walang interaction, casual lang. Such as people pumunta lang sa post office or sa waiting shed, no? Ganun. Casual crowds yung walang interaction. Parang, although nagtipon kayo doon, pero hindi kayo nag-interact. Example dyan, yun nga, waiting area, waiting shed, pag nag-wait ng sasakyan. Okay, meron tayong tinatawag na conventional crowds, okay, are those who come together for a scheduled event occurring regularly like religious service. Example, nagsambaya ka or nagsimba ka. It is a conventional, no, crowds. Kasi nga, you gather there, but is in a scheduled manner. Meron din tinatawag na expressive crowds, no? People who join together, who express emotion, such as funerals, weddings, okay? Understandable. Final type is acting crowds, focus on specific goal or action, such as protest, no? They are acting something, no? They are moving, riot, something. Meron din tinatawag mass, no? A mass. A mass is relatively large number of people with common interest, no? Though they may not be in close proximity, such as players of Facebook, so mass media, something. So, marami sila, pero they are in common interest. Facebook, common interest. Same kayo ng website, Facebook, Tumblr, naglalayo kayo dyan. Okay? And meron din tayong tinatawag na public. This is kind of like a collective. So, ano yung public? On the other hand, in an unorganized, relatively diffuse group of people who share ideas, such as libertarian, so iba-iba sila, and the like. So, meron din tinatawag na theoretical perspective on collective behavior. So, meron tayo itong emergent non-perspective. According to the emergent non-norm perspective, rather, people have their own reasons to join a parade. So, depende sa'yo. Depende sa norm mo. Okay? Depende sa interest mo, rason mo. Emergent norm perspective theory asserts that in this circumstance, people perceive and respond to the crowd situation with their particular set of norms, which may change as the crowd experience evolves. So, ganun. Meron din tinatawag na value-added theory. According to Smelser, called value-added theory is a perspective within functionalist tradition based on the idea that several conditions must be in place for collective behavior. So, dapat daw, binibigyan nila dito ng rason, bakit pa nagtitipon yung mga tao? Ano yung reason? So, dito yung theory na yan. Dito sila nabibilong. Okay? So, sabi dito, ang first concept dito is structural conduciveness. Sabi dito, which describes when people are aware of the problem and opportunity to gather. So, kung may problema, nag-gather sila dyan, nag-meeting, structural conduciveness lang, aware sila na meron silang pagtatrabaho ang problema. Meron din tayong tinatawag na structural strain. The second condition refers to people's expectation about situation at hand being unmet, causing tension. So, ito yung mga expectation nila, causing tension. May nagkamero na ang strain. The next condition is growth and spread of generalized belief. Okay? Wherein a problem is clearly identified and attributed to a person or group. Okay? So, nagtitipon sila because meron silang na-attribute na clearly problem on the generalized, based on their generalized belief. The fourth is precipitating factors, spur, collective behavior. This is the emergence of a dramatic event. May mga dramatic event na nangyari. Example, the fifth condition is mobilization for action. When leaders emerge to direct a crowd to action, final condition relates to action by agents, called social control. It is the only way to end the collective behavior. Okay? Agents of social control bring collective behavior to an end. Meron din tinatawag na assembling perspective. No? Interactionist perspective to siya. Sociologist Clark McPhail developed assembling perspective, another system for understanding collective behavior that created individuals in crowds as rational beings. Unlike previous theories, this theory focuses attention from collective behavior to collect action. So, meron din ditong tinatawag table ni Clark McPhail, identified various correspondences of convergent and collective behavior. So, meron din ditong type of crowd, convergence clusters, ang description niya, family and friends who travel together. Yan yung convergence. Example dyan is carpooling parents take several children to movies. And convergent orientation, group all facing the same direction or a semicircle around stage, for example. Collective vocalization, sound or noise. Collective verbalization, collective gesticulation, collective manipulation, and collective locomotion. And their description and their example. Social movements. Social movements are purposeful, organized groups striving to work toward a common social group. So, meron tayong tinatawag na levels of social movements. Social movements in terms of locality or in their local. In the United States, in terms of states, Texas or different states, yung mga movements nila by state or by local. Meron tinatawag na social movement in nation. So, ayun yung mga movement ng nation na meaning, pag nag-move yung nation, pag nag-move to, as social movement, naapektuhan yung buong nation na type ng mga movement. Example dito, marriage or different kind, gay marriage or same-sex marriage, it is a social movement since may batas yan, lahat naapektuhan. It is indeed social movement in national level. So, meron din ng global. Okay, global example. UNICEF right now is indeed a social movement. Or United Nations for Children's Emergency Fund or UNICEF. So, pag meron silang ginawang social movements, kasi lahat sila, almost all, lahat na ng country, meron ng United Nations branch or ganun. So, yun ang nangyayari dyan. Pag meron silang campaign, parang yung global na apektuhan, no? Or nakakabenepisyo. Yan yung mga social movements globally. Meron din ditong types of social movements. No, so according to sociologist David Aberle, addresses the question developing categories that distinguish among social movements based on what they want to change and how much they change. So example, reform movements. So yung reform movements, they want to change something. Example dyan, yung mga human rights advocate, ganun-ganon. Meron din tinatawag na revolutionary movements, seeks to complete change every aspect of society. Gusto nilang baguhin yung society. Mga anarchist collectives, mga counterculture. Meron din tayo dito mga religious or redemptive movements, yung mga religious organizations, meaning life-seeking. Meron silang goal na i-share sa ibang tao yung meaning of life. Alternative movements are focused on self-improvement and limited specific changes of individual and beliefs and behavior. Resistant movements seek to prevent. So, ito yung mga resistant movements. Pag may mangyaring social movements, ayaw nila. They resist. No, they try to prevent or undo the change. No, for example, ito, Ku Klux Klan and pro-life movements falls into this category. Stages naman tayo of social movements. So, later, sociology studied the life cycle of social movements, how they emerge, grow, in some cases, die out or bloomer, and really outline for stage of this process. Preliminary stage, people become aware of an issue and leaders emerge. So, preliminary stage, may problema, nagkamiro ng leader. Coalition stage, when people join together, no, nag-coalize sila, they form a coalition, okay, and organize in order to publicize the issue and raise awareness. So, yan yung mga tinatawag natin ng mga coalition, no? They join together and organize something so that they can have their social movement or campaign. Meron din tinatawag na institutionalization stage. Now, this movement no longer requires grassroots volunteerism. It established organization kasi nga, typically people with a paid staff. Okay, institutionalized na. And of course, we have decline stage. Pag yung nangyari, walang nangyari sa movements, yung nangyari, pumupunta sa decline stage, nabubuwag yung stage or yung coalition na nabuo. Social media and social change, a match made in heaven. So, indeed, no? Indeed talaga ngayon, ang power ng social media talaga, it unites people virtually. There is power in virtual. So, isa ito example, no? Obama's campaign use social media to tweet like friends its way to victory. So, accordingly here, there was this campaign used by Barack Obama kasi si Barack Obama kasi accordingly daw nanalo siya virtually, no, sikat siya dyan. So dyan siya nanalo as a President of the United States. Example, Twitter, no, may mga campaign sa Twitter. Sometimes yung mga campaign, yung mga social movements, especially guys, okay, political campaign, kampanya, no, oftentimes talaga parang kawawa kapag you are not in the virtual world. No, parang right now kasi parang the main medium na kasi natin ngayon is virtual na, no, or social media. So, may humingi ng tulong, mga ganun. So, meron tayo ditong theoretical perspective of movement. So, meron tayo ditong resource mobilization theory as the way to explain movement success in terms of its ability to acquire resources, no? To mobilize resources and mobilize individuals. Okay, look at guys, hindi lang yung resources guys, hindi lang yung mga pagkain or mga goods. Even individual in itself is indeed a resources. Kaya nga, mobilizing individual, of course, is a resource mobilization. In social work perspective, guys, there is this skill, resource mobilization. So, yung ibig sabihin dyan, hindi lang yung mga resources na services or programs, you have the skill, no, na marunong kang mag-lead ng tao for their purposes na para for their own good. So, you mobilize them para maging resources sila. Okay? So, meron din tayong tinatawag na taking together along with the other social movements, organization working on animal rights issues and similar organizations constitute social movement industry. Meron din tayong tinatawag na social movement sector, social movement organization, or a single movement group, and the like. So, ito tinatawag na social movement sector. Under niya dito yung social movement industry like animal rights, marriage rights, food movements organization. Under naman dito na social movement organization, ang dami. And example dito, people, ethical treatments of animals, animal human rights, according sa food. So, framing then and analysis, okay? So, over the past decades, sociologists have developed the concept of frames to explain how individuals identify and understand social movements or events in which norms they should follow in a given area. The first type is diagnostic framing. It states problem in a clear, understandable way. Okay, next naman is prognostic framing. Second type of resolution, how it will be implemented. Finally, motivational framing, a call for action. Frame aligning process, of course, ongoing intentional wins. And bridging, describes bridge connects an individual, an organized person with social movements. Verification model and extension, social movements agree to mutual promote each other. So they're promoting something here. Even when two social movements involves don't necessarily relate to each other immediate goals. So may extension ang nangyayari. May mga merging. Of course, we have here extension occurs when social movements have sympathetic causes, women's rights, racial inequality, LGBT, something. And transformation involves a complete revision of goals. Meron yung tinatawag na New Social Movement Theory, a development of European social scientists in 1950s to 1960s attempts to explain the proliferation of post-industrial and post-modern movements that are difficult to analyze and using traditional social movements. Social change may nangyayari. No, it's a collective behavior and social movements are two of the forces driving social change. Process of social change, of course, technology. Like right now, ano, di ba? Technology natin, social media, social institution, of course, population and environment. Meron yung tinatawag ng urbanization. Describe the process of increased amount of specialization and differentiation of structure in societies resulting in the move from underdeveloped society to develop technology-driven society. Okay, so that's all.